We have executed a search warrant on his residence, and we have recovered items. And we cannot get into specific details on what we recover at this time because, again, the investigation is ongoing. And we want to make sure that we're providing accurate information. The family deserves that, and the community deserves that.
During the press briefing just a short time ago, we also got an update on the condition of those that were injured in the attack, including 26-year-old rookie police officer Nicholas Wilt. Here's what they said about his condition.
We still have 4 patients in the hospital. 2 remain in the ICU. Officer Wilkes still remains in critical condition, but we have been able to upgrade our other patient in the ICU to stable condition. The other 2 remain in the hospital being treated for non-life-threatening injuries.
You just heard
I want to thank my team, again, the emergency department,
recovering, except for Officer Wilt, who is in the ICU and critical. He had only been out of the police academy, folks, 10 days. Yesterday, he was shot in his head while rushing in to confront this gunman. It's another tragedy of a good guy with a gun running towards a bad guy with a gun.
Let's welcome in now.
Hero.
Yes, let's welcome in now the Attorney General of Kentucky, Daniel Cameron. General, great to have you with us.
John, Bianca, thank you all for having me in light of this tragedy that has occurred here in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky.
So much of this seems familiar. The one part of it, though, we do want to highlight, which is also familiar from last week's shooting in Nashville, is that you have a hero police officer, Officer Wilt here, only 10 days on the job, running towards the gunfire.
Well, John, Nick, Officer Wilt is just symbolic of the brave men and women that exist within our Louisville LMPD, our law enforcement community here in Kentucky. Nick ran towards danger. Other officers ran towards danger, and I'm so grateful that they did and the way that they served in rapidly getting to this tragedy and this event to stop what was unmistakable evil. And that's just what it is, and that's what we have to call it. And I want to just say to our law enforcement community right now, we appreciate you. We are grateful for you. We thank you for the way that you serve our communities and the way that you show up day in and day out, being willing to sacrifice yourselves for our communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just everyone's running away and they're the ones running in, and we can never stress that enough. Let's talk about what you say is the evil that unfolded. The police say it's at the hands of this man, 25-year-old Connor Sturgeon, Mr. Attorney General. He was streaming the attack on Instagram live. They say he was targeting the bank because he was fired. We do know the gun was legally bought a week ago at a dealership, but police say that he, had left a note for his parents and a friend saying he was going to shoot the bank and that he had been suicidal. They do note that his, LinkedIn account shows he, him pronouns. It does sound like there is a situation here where there was mental issues here. Can you speak a little bit more about what you've maybe hearing about this shooter and where you think the focus should be? Obviously, people want to talk about gun control, but this was a legally purchased gun, and this is a young man who maybe had some psychological issues.
Well, Bianca, right now, as the interim chief just noted, they are undertaking an investigation. They have executed a search warrant at this person's home, and obviously don't want to say anything before that investigation is completed, don't want to impede anything. And we really need to focus on the victims, those that are hurting within our community. There are, as you know, Nicholas is still in critical condition, and I know the surgeons at the University of Louisville Hospital are working diligently to save his life. And I know that there are other victims that are dealing with the trauma that has come out of this tragedy and out of this event. But what we saw yesterday was certainly evil. And as I was sharing with folks earlier today, obviously we came out of a period of celebrating the resurrection of Christ. And that was on Sunday. And then on Monday, just this tragedy unfolds in Louisville. And I was down after the event occurred, was down with some of the law enforcement, brave law enforcement men and women. And yes, they run towards the danger. There's no question about that. But you could see the hurt and pain on their face. So this is something that has sent our city reeling. I am glad that folks are coming together in a way that shows that we are a strong Louisville, that we are a strong Commonwealth. And I hope that together we will find our way out of this. And again, I'm so proud of the thin blue line that stood up to this challenge and took down this evil.
Well, General, I wanted to ask you, too, about what's happening just across the state line in Tennessee and in Nashville. We have the two lawmakers, one of them being reappointed. We expect the other one to be reappointed as well. But they shut down the regular course of business in the Tennessee State House with bullhorns. What do you think about their expulsion and the reappointment now? Was that justified?
Well, I certainly don't know the specifics of the reappointment, but I think if you've got members of a legislature that are trying to shut down the regular course of business, then it was in the appropriate scope of the other members of the legislature to respond to that. Again, what we need to focus on are the victims of the Covenant School and those families that are now hurting. And the same thing here in Louisville, Kentucky. We've got to focus on the families. I have a brother-in-law and sister-in-law that have a mutual friend who's a law enforcement official up in northern Kentucky that knows Officer Wilt very well. And so our family is praying earnestly, as I know a lot of Kentuckians and folks across the country are, for his health and well-being and his recovery, and all the others that find themselves in the hospital right now. This is a moment for us to come together and be each other's neighbor and companion in just consoling one another. And that's what I hope we will continue to do here in Kentucky. And again, the law enforcement community here put down this evil. I'm glad that they did. I'm glad that they responded as quickly as they did, because it certainly could have been a lot worse.
That's right.
Of course, yeah.
It certainly could have.
That power of prayer. We know it works.
Amen.
We'll be praying for Officer Wilt as well. Attorney General Cameron, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
John, Bianca, thank you all.